it's Amy with the Hag Reads again. I am a little bit behind on my videos, and I'm not going to play Hurry Up Catch Up. Instead of doing a work in progress Wednesday, today I am just going to do my weekly wrap up that I should have done on Friday. I was possessed by cleaning demons, and I spent the day unexcitedly deep cleaning the grout in my kitchen, which does look fantastic now. And thank God I don't have a very big kitchen. I got a wild hair, and I was tired of the dirtiness of the grout, and I just felt like the tiles were not getting as clean. And it's been a couple of years since we moved in, and while I do mop the floor once a week, sometimes more, I just feel like it's textured travertine tile, I think is what it is, and it is very hard to get dirt off it. So I use hydrogen peroxide and baking soda, and it is clean and shiny and beautiful again. Probably as clean as it's been since it was installed. But now there's such a marked difference between the kitchen and the rest of the house that there is no conceivable way that I can live with it looking like that. So every Thursday for the next couple weeks I will be working on a different area of the house. Tomorrow and over the weekend will be the living room, and I have a lot of furniture in here. It's going to take a lot of moving around, but I'm going to do it in basically 3 sections, along with our tiny little hallway and the bathroom. And then I'll move into my son's bedroom. This is a 1-bedroom apartment which I'm sharing with my adult son. We're doing it to save money for our move, and since we have such a small budget, we're basically treating the living room like my room and his room. Basically kind of 2 studio apartments with a shared bathroom and kitchen. And it's worked for us so far. Nobody has tried to kill anybody else. Yay. But the floors, now that I have seen the kitchen, I just have to continue on through the apartment. So next Thursday I will be working on, if I don't get all the way through the hallway and the kitchen, which are not very big rooms, then I will maybe do the living room and the hallway as one batch, and do the bathroom and his room as a separate batch. Once I get going with it, it doesn't take that long, but it's hands and knee scrubbing, and I don't have one of those handy dandy little kneeling pads that you use with gardening, so I have to kneel on a towel, and I'm not a light person, and the tile is very unforgiving. So I am just about recovered from last week's bout of cleaning in the tiny kitchen, and we'll see how I feel at the end of this weekend after having done the entire living room. It's not gigantic, but it's not tiny either. And it's a lot of tile, but I am so pleased with the kitchen that I simply have to continue. From my weekly wrap-up, this is covering Monday the 22nd through Sunday the 28th. Today is the end of the month. I will not be doing a monthly wrap-up. When I do my weekly wrap-up for this week on Friday, I think maybe, I hope I'm covering the right week. I may not need to do one on Friday. What I may do is my work in progress on Friday. I think maybe I have inadvertently skipped a week somehow. I'm going to pause this for a second and just double check. I was wrong about what I do on Fridays. That's usually my library haul. So on Monday following this weekend of mad cleaning of the living room grout and tile, with hydrogen peroxide and baking soda and a scrub brush and a toothbrush, yay, I will just do a brief overview of how many books for the month I read and the breakdown of those. Since I've already done basically every week, covered all of the books, I don't see any need to go back and recap the whole month. That seems kind of extraneous, so I'll take care of it that way. So let me just jump right in here. Last week I read 8 books, 1 child's fiction, 1 young adult, 5 adult fiction, and 1 adult nonfiction book. I'm going to start with the adult fiction. The first book I read was Robopocalypse by Daniel H. Wilson. Pretty typical sci-fi, kind of reminded me a little bit of Terminator without the time travel. Typical plot, a massively powerful AI is created by a scientist and goes online and decides that humanity is not necessary and not desirable, and mayhem ensues. I did give this 4 stars. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. It has a lot of typical plot elements for this type of book. It's a slightly, I think it's 2043 is the time frame, where personalized robotic servants and a lot of things are automated, and so that's how the Robopocalypse starts. And it had just enough characters and just enough interweaving plot lines to be interesting without being confusing. And I really did enjoy this quite a bit, and I would definitely recommend it for somebody who likes this sort of thing. I also think that it would work for YA readers, probably age 14 and older. It does have some gore and violence, but mostly it's just robots trying to take over the world. Yeah. And then the second book I read was Married with Zombies by Jesse Petersen. This was an ebook, and it just sounded fun. It's part of a larger zombie reading list that I compiled some time ago, just to see what's out there. So for this one, it's the story focuses on a married couple who is in counseling. Their marriage is falling apart, and it may turn out that this zombie apocalypse might save their marriage. It's humor mixed with plenty of gore. A couple of books I've read in the recent past, some of the comments on them were that they were books about zombies, but they weren't gory and they didn't focus on the zombies. This is all action, lots of zombie killing with a plot underneath there. It's certainly less cerebral than some of the other books I've read recently, which are more social commentary and what's wrong with the world. This is more kills and thrills than anything else, and there is graphic gore and violence in it. So if that's your thing with zombies, and then you don't mind a little light romance to go with it, for a married couple who's sniping at each other and trying to make their marriage work while slaying zombies, this might be your thing. The third book I read was The Deadly Travelers by Dorothy Eden. This is a reread. It's an older book, and I've talked about this before, when I was putting in from my past reading list that go back to about 2007, I was going through the list, and I remember most of the books in kind of a vague way, and some of them I remember better than others, but this one, I did not remember reading it at all, and even reading the plot description did not help me remember this book at all. So I reread it. I requested it from the library, and I enjoyed it, but it was written, or it was published, in 1959, and it kind of evokes a different era. The heroine of the mystery is named Kate Tempest. Fairly typical, I think, probably for the genre. She's kind of spunky and not, I guess, gender normative in the sense that she's not very complacent, and she doesn't just do what people tell her to do, and I think that makes her a more interesting character, but it does get her into a lot of trouble in the book. It's a mystery with some murder in it, I guess. But mostly it's a mystery. Her job in this book is to get a child from, it's either Spain or Italy, to London, the parents of divorce, and the father has taken the child from the mother, supposedly. And so she's supposed to go fetch the child from the father and deliver it to the mother. She manages to get the child on the train and the child is asleep, and nobody really sees her with the child because there's also a school group on the train, kind of causing their own mayhem and noisiness. And so she goes to dinner. The child is sleeping in the sleeping car. She comes back. Everything seems fine. Goes to sleep. Boom, child goes missing, and nobody believes her because nobody has seen her with the child. And then there's a lot of, I guess, pandering, kind of, oh, she's a hysterical female kind of thing. And then she goes on to try and solve the mystery, which is a little convoluted. But overall, I enjoyed it, and I don't want to go any further than that in describing it. It does have some gender normative issues, obviously, for the time it was written and for the time that it's set in. But overall, it's a fairly decent mystery. I gave it 3 stars. I couldn't see my way to 4. Because I read it only in, I think, 2009, and I could not remember a darn thing about this book. My 4th read for this past week was Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. I moved this up in the list because I could not renew it. I probably still had about half a month on it, but once a book is zeroed on my digital, when I go check my library account, I like to read it right away. Otherwise, I tend to forget, and then I have to wait for the book to come back around. And this one seems fairly popular because I had to wait maybe 3 weeks to get it. I got Lost World well before Jurassic Park, and I hadn't even renewed Jurassic Park one time, and it wasn't available for them. I'm not going to offer a plot summary with this. I think with Jurassic Park, between the book and the movie, I think enough people are familiar with the plot that I don't need to go into that. And I know that there have been criticisms about the science behind the book, and criticisms about the a number of the dinosaurs in both the book and the movie that are not actually from the Jurassic period. So I don't know enough about the actual science behind this to speak with any degree of confidence about its accuracy. As a lay reader, as somebody who knows a minimal amount about how this sort of thing would work, I found it believable enough and enjoyable enough of a read. I liked all the characters. I didn't find Ian Malcolm quite as annoying as he was portrayed in the movie, although I do like the actor that played him. And Dr. Grant was much less of a child hater than I expected, based on the differences between the movie and the book. But by the end of the book, I really just wanted to punch that little girl in the face, and I kind of was hoping she would get eaten by a dinosaur. I am sorry if I'm a bad person, but I really disliked her a lot. But overall, I enjoyed the book a lot. I gave it a solid 3 stars. I don't know why I didn't give it 4, but it's definitely not a 5-star book. It's good, and I'll never forget it because my son loved this movie, the one that lives in Texas with his dad, and I have probably seen it 20 times, so I'm never going to forget it. But there are significant differences, as is always the case, between the book and the movie, and while I like them both, when I think about it, I like the visualness of the movie. It brings, you get to see it, but the changes are significant enough that I enjoyed the book more than I did the movie, even though visually I really liked the movie. My final adult fiction book for the previous week was The Wedding Cake Murder, which is a cozy Hannah Swensen, their cookie baking mysteries. This is the 20th in the series, and I know there's one more beyond this. I don't know if they have plans beyond it, and I certainly hope they do not. I wanted to quit reading this around book 10, but I'm not a quitter. I like cozy mysteries in general. there are some things, and this may be spoilers, so if you are reading this and you're really loving the series, while I'm holding my hands up here, you might want to stop, because I'm going to say some things about this book that might spoil some of the other books for you, and it will certainly spoil this book for you. So I will put my hands back up again if you want to just fast forward past this. Spoilers. I fucking hate the cat in this book. And I am not a pet hater, but I am also no longer a pet owner. Having had 4 children, I have no desire to care for anything else for a good long time. My transgender son will probably be living with me for a long time. And I just really dislike this trend of single women with cats that they dote on, and the cats are assholes. This cat is an asshole. Has been from the beginning, and everybody makes such a big deal about this, and they have these play dates between Hannah's cat and Norman's cat, and they attribute such a degree of intelligence to this cat that it just really bothers me. I do not like the cat in this, and I've seen several of this type of cozy mystery where the female protagonist has a cat, and it is not a nice cat. It is not a good cat, and this seems to be a trend, and I don't like it at all. It's fine if you want to put pets in. I have no, I know many people are cat and dog lovers, and I think I enjoy other people's pets the way, say, you might enjoy someone's child for the afternoon to spoil it, love it, and give it back. So that has bothered me throughout all of the books. 3 Men, really? She's a fantastic baker, but 3 men vying for her attention. And Ross came out of nowhere. I do not like him as a character. I will confess that I have been on Team Norman for a long time. But I really dislike Ross as a character. And other spoiler, I hope that he kills her in the next book, and that's the end of the series. I'm sorry. Those are my big complaints for that. So I'm sorry, you can come back. I gave it 2 stars. I've given most of the books in this series 3 stars, and I will not, well, I won't say I will not read in the future, because I can't help myself. If another book comes out, I will read it. There is one more in the series as of now, and I'm kind of hoping it's the conclusion, because I think they've taken this as far as it can go. 20 murders in a small Minnesota town is quite an awful lot. My one adult fiction book of the week was If the Buddha Dated by Charlotte Kasl, Ph.D. She holds a psychology degree, and despite the somewhat new agey, self-helpy mix of Buddhist, Sufi, and Taoist, and some Zen traditions kind of all scooped together in one morass of dating advice based on the Buddha and what the Buddha taught. It turned out to be a much more interesting read than I thought. Not great reading by any stretch, but I did walk away with some useful things, but those were mostly psychology based and could be applied to any relationship. It was just like the right book at the right moment. It just had a little tidbit that made me think about some of my past relationships and the dynamics within those, and so that was enlightening for me personally. This is not going to solve any of your dating problems, but it is an interesting read if you're kind of interested in a mix of kind of psychology and westernized Eastern tradition spiritualism. I gave it 3 stars, and I definitely enjoyed reading it. I might even consider owning it. Just for the little bit that I got out of it, I was pretty happy with that. My YA read for the week was Dead Girls of Hysteria Hall, and this video is running long, so I'm going to try and race through this. A teen inherits a creepy old girls' psychiatric hospital for troubled girls and teens. Creepy stuff happens. It's a kind of a supernatural mystery, touching on societal norms, past and present, family dynamics, community, and it was a good read. For a YA book, I kept reading to the end. I read it in 2 sittings in 1 day. So I enjoyed it, but I would only rate it 3 stars, not 4. It wasn't spectacular, but it was quite engaging. And if you like this kind of creepy teen, creepy location, and there are ghosts involved, that's an element of this. So if you like that sort of thing, I would definitely recommend it. My final book was a children's book, and it's On the Banks of Plum Creek, Little House Book 4. I'm not going to go into any detail on this. I'm sure most of the people on here have heard of it. If not, head on over to Goodreads. These are, I can't say I didn't like it. I can't say I loved it. Like I've said before, I remember reading these. I remember checking them out, but I don't remember the plot of any. Well, there's not really a plot. I don't remember the content of any of the books. And this may have been the thing that made me not care for anything kind of Old West, heading west, pioneer stuff, because they did not have an easy life. And I think it's great for historical, like if you're homeschooling, or if you just want your child to read more about the history of early America. I think this gives you a good overview of that from one family perspective of what pioneer life and what farm life in early America was like. I gave it 4 stars, and this is a personal thing. I'm sure it probably rates 5 stars as a classic book for children's fiction, but on a personal level, I didn't love it so much that I could say it changed my life, or it's made a huge difference in my life, or I just loved reading it that much that I could give it 5 stars. And that is my reading for the week. I am so sorry this video is so long. Thank you if you have watched all the way to the end, and I will be back on Friday as usual, even if the cleaning demons possess me again. I promise to post my video on Friday. I will see you next time. Bye!